your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying him.
You're doing your thing now where you double down on a take
that is incorrect. The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not so. There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final, bright and early here on this Monday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. One more hour to go up until 11 a.m. Eastern. Coming your way here at hour number 3, we get you ready for the conference finals round in both the NBA playoffs and, of course, on the ice in the Stanley Cup postseason as well. The prop perspective early with TV Tom Vecchio here to end out this third and final hour in plenty of Major League Baseball previews following rivalry weekend with a rather full Monday slate, DRS. A lot of times on Monday, a couple of teams get the weekend or the week off to start on a Monday. We got 12 games on this Monday slate, so plenty to break down in the entirety of this third hour.
Yeah, Major League Baseball has done a lot better job over the past, let's just say, decade, because there were some lean days, like maybe a Monday and a Thursday. They do a pretty good job of spacing that out so you don't get those weak cards. It's nice to have that on a Monday. And also the fun part about that is handicapping the games early on a Monday, but then you get 5, 6, 7, 8 hours before those games actually get underway, and you can see the the starting lineups come out to see where teams are playing this. So I do enjoy that. And hour number 3, the energy will be high. I promise it'll be higher than Scotty Scheffler after he won the PGA Championship. We'll make sure we get the people involved and we recognize everybody here. And also, no scheduling conflicts on any guests in hour number 3. We're going to have a great hour number 3 right here. I guarantee.
Just some other conflicts to discuss with our guests, I guess, in hour number 3. Ready. We'll see if those comments make it to the airwaves. DRS, we'll talk about the NBA postseason and get into the conference finals round by hearing from you, the people, in just a matter of moments. But, of course, big weekend in basketball. The WNBA season in 2025 off to a flying start. 3 games on Friday, 3 games on Saturday, including some marquee matchups early, and 2 more games on a Sunday. Of course, on Saturday, headlined by our first matchup of the day in Brooklyn, the reigning WNBA champs in the New York Liberty, taking on the team that had won 2 consecutive WNBA titles the 2 years prior in the Las Vegas Aces. It used to be the Aces getting the better of the Liberty basically each and every time New York has returned serve. They win by 14 on their home floor in BK as a championship banner was raised for the first time in Liberty franchise history on Saturday afternoon. 92-78 the win for New York. Couple of star-studded performances. Asia Wilson, reigning WNBA MVP, off to a great start, 31 points. But Breanna Stewart and her Liberty, 25 points for Stewie. New York gets the win. Of course, we then went directly to Indianapolis, a rivalry between the Fever and the Chicago Sky, and a rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese intensifying on Saturday. It was all Indiana. 93-58, 35-point win for the Fever in game number 1 over the sky. Indiana easily covering as a 7.5-point favorite. And what a start to year number 2 for Caitlin Clark. A triple-double, 20 points, 10 dimes, 10 boards, added in four blocks and 2 steals as well. Third triple-double of Clark's career in only 43 games. The 3 triple-doubles, DRS, third most in WNBA history, only trailing Sabrina Ionescu and Alyssa Thomas, who is the only WNBA player with double-digit triple-doubles in her WNBA career. But already 3 triple-dubs for Caitlin Clark in her WNBA career. And I think, as we saw, the Indiana Fever, a true championship contender with the 35-point rout in game number 1.
Yeah, WNBA did it right? Opening weekend. Get the marquee matchups that people want to see and turn their TV on to get excited about. You want to see the champions play a very good opponent there in the Aces. You want to see Caitlin Clark go up against a college rival in Angel Reese. You want to get those advantages. You want games that actually mean something right off the bat. And the thing that we like about the WNBA is, yes, they did expand some games this year, but it's not the NBA where it's like, hey, we're going to play 82 games or we're going to take games off. Like, I doubt Caitlin Clark is going to take off national television games here because she wants to get a maintenance day worked in. So you're still at that schedule where these ladies are going to play hard on a night-to-night basis outside of, a really bad or severe injury, and that's what you have to like. So I thought the WNBA needed to get out there for an opening weekend that had a lot of other sports to talk about, and I think it did itself pretty well.
It certainly did, DRS. Of course, there was a big moment late in the third quarter. A take foul committed by Caitlin Clark that was ruled a flagrant 1. I thought that was a terrible call. And then double technical fouls assessed to Aaliyah Boston, who was trying to break up the scrum, and Angel Reese, who was not too happy with Caitlin Clark for that take foul. Both players after the game, Cece and Reese, both saying, listen, just a basketball play. Refs called what they called. Leave it at that. Of course, despite the players involved in the actual incident and the game saying it's not a big deal, it's just basketball, as is often the case in WNBA conversations, social media ran with it. Also leading to an investigation by the WNBA into some racist and hateful comments allegedly made at the expense of Angel Reese in the Indianapolis crowd on Saturday. We'll see if those have any merit. A lot of it seems, started from a social media account detailing something allegedly that had happened and rumored that was not necessarily profiled or known during the actual game itself. The WNBA is investigating. Both Indiana and Chicago have come out and said, of course, they are fully cooperating. Hateful speech has no place in the W, nor in professional sports. And of course, we all understand that. But the WNBA, despite excellent games in its opening weekend, now, of course, has some issues off the court already in weekend number 1.
Let's keep it on the basketball court, which we said we had exciting matchups here. We had flagrant fouls, which maybe weren't flagrant fouls, but that made its way around social media. That's the social media you want, where people get to talk about that. And if you are looking into the details, why don't we do this reverse mode here for the WNBA? If you find this out as an organization, why don't you go through a 3 or 4 day period? We don't release any statement, and you try to find out about things. And if you found nothing, you don't report anything. If you found something, then it comes out. Here's what we're doing about it. We found the perpetrator. This is not going to be tolerated. Everybody would agree with that, because we don't agree that, racism should be in the game. That's the way it's played. No, it should not be in the game. We should not be hearing about it. But also, we shouldn't be promoting it as well. Find it, then promote it, eradicate it. Don't promote it, find nothing, and then try to do that again. That's all we're asking. We love basketball. Yeah. We want to watch it in any capacity. That's what the focus should be on.
The investigation will play out. Angel Reese had no comment about what was said in Indianapolis. Of course, we will see what is said. The WNBA product of basketball, with its superstars performing in the biggest way, that needs to be highlighted. And the game itself is in a great spot. Some of the conversation as the WNBA grows, that is a different story, including a new superstar, of course, that took her WNBA debut on Friday night. Paige Beckers, 10 points, 7 boards, 2 dimes. Not exactly the best start in the WNBA, but of course still a double-digit performance. Her Wings losing by 15 to the WNBA runner-ups a season ago in the Minnesota Lynx. Nafisa Collier, a WNBA MVP contender for sure. 34 points in her 2025 opener. Quickly, DRS, How about we get back to the NBA right now and in the postseason? 4 teams still left standing in the conference finals round. What is the best bet in the NBA championship odds? We asked you and Fade the Public. So what is the best bet is different than the team that we expect to win. Oklahoma City, a -175 favorite. Yeah, the Thunder should be booked as the favorites, but are you willing to lay the juice? 34% of the public saying, yeah, I'll bet on OKC at SportsGrid on Twitter. DRS, my bet, the Pacers, who I got at a 9-1 price after they pulled off the gentleman's sweep against the Cavaliers, and I think there is a ton of value with Indiana. What was your vote, and what would be your best bet in the NBA championship odds?
Yeah, and it's changing for every moment here at this point. But I did pick the Pacers at a 7-1 price, not because I think they can win the championship. It's the best price point to possibly win a championship, which means if they make the championship round, you can turn that ticket into a positive here. But also, the Pacers were much higher on this board about an hour ago, now shifting down to 22%, which is third in line behind the Timberwolves and also the Thunder than the Knicks. How about that? 18.6, the biggest market, getting the least amount of respect.
Interesting. More on the early line up next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Derek Carr has called it a career after 11 NFL seasons.
I think they knew before the draft that they had to make a move at this point. And by the way, Derek Carr did have a pretty good career, made as many Pro Bowls as Eli Manning. So based on that, he should go to the Hall of Fame like Eli Manning. Well, Eli Manning does have a couple rings at that point, but always wanted to take a shot at Manning, who should not actually be in the Hall of Fame. Shouldn't be questioned an under 500 quarterback for his career. Stop the man.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
What fun rivalry weekend was around Major League Baseball. So much that we recapped for you in hour number 2. I'm sure DRS and TV Tom Vecchio had a wonderful time yesterday morning on Pro Baseball Today. Each and every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern time for 2 hours up until noon Eastern. DRS, you would say a 2-hour show. That's your sweet spot, huh?
Oh, I mean, it's just so fast all the way through. The action is there. 15, 16, maybe 17 games. If you have double headers there, you flow all the way. There's almost like the truth is there just might be not enough time for those 2-hour shows, but they fit.
Wow.
Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss on a Sunday. It's almost like not even working on a Sunday.
Are we thinking 9 to noon? 10 to 1?
Yep.
Maybe on Pro Baseball Today? Starting soon? We'll talk about
Pro baseball today, 8 to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. I mean, could be a concept, and could be a baseball guy.
Fantastic.
You never know.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Not me. That's fantastic. I wish you guys absolutely the best. All right, DRS, as we look at what happened this weekend in MLB and set the stage for a 12-game card. Pretty robust for a Monday in the bigs. 12 games on this Monday around MLB. Two teams that won their rivalry weekend series. Detroit against their own bitter rivals in Toronto. They take 2 of 3. The Tigers 31-16, the best record in Major League Baseball. And a St. Louis Cardinals team that won the opening 2 games against the Royals in the Show Me State Showdown, the I-70 rivalry, if you will. Did lose yesterday 2-1 in Kauffman. Michael Garcia, game-winning RBI for the Royals in the home half of the 7th. But the Cardinals, a team that had the longest price to win the NL Central, now the second best record, 26-21. The Cardinals and the Tigers tonight under the arch. Sonny Gray gets the start for St. Louis, at least on FanDuel right now. No starter name, DRS, for the Tigers. Maybe you have some updated info, but the Redbirds a favorite at -158. Total 8.5 today in the Lou. What do you like tonight between the Cardinals and the Tigers?
Yeah, we do have a pitching mismatch. Looks like it is going to be Montero, but at the same time, like, you don't have a team mismatch here because Detroit's been very good, and as of late, that lineup really is showing up for the St. Louis Cardinals. If we take a look at Sonny Gray on the season itself, 50 total innings pitched, a 4.50 ERA, which is high, but a 3.51 xFIP number, so he's getting a little bit unlucky. The issue here is you take a look at that lineup for Detroit, which is finally starting to hit. We've been waiting a couple years for, the Carpenters, the Keiths, the Greens, the Torkelsons really to turn it on, and they have. And you're getting great at-bats by a guy like Javier Baez in the 9-hole here with a 333 ISO power number over the past month going up against right-handed pitching. Here's where we take a look at Sonny Gray. As we just said, his numbers are pretty good. On the card today, 23 total pitchers here with at least 10 innings pitched on the season. Sonny Gray comes in 6th with Isn't Bad. Here's the problem, though. If you like Detroit, you look at the lefties. If we focus in on Sonny Gray on the season, he's faced 96 of them, a 129 ISO against and a weighted on base percentage of 299, a K rate of 29%. Over the past 30 days, the K rate dropped slightly from 29% to 27%, which isn't bad. You do take a look at the ISO power number, 127, which is actually less than what it has been on the full season, and a slightly higher weighted on base percentage. So if you sound like, okay, well, he's really good against lefties, how about the righties? He actually doesn't do all that well on the season. A 221 ISO and a weighted on base percentage here of 336. The last 30 days, Ben, his last 58 batters he's faced from the right side, a 241 ISO and a 408 weighted on base percentage. But I just told you, we like Carpenter. He's a lefty. Keith is a lefty. Green is a lefty. McKinstry is a lefty. Sweeney's a lefty. So 5 out of the batters estimated tonight of the 9 are supposed to be lefties, only 4 for the righties. If I'm trying to say, you know what, which righty makes the most sense, it's probably Javier Baez, but you don't have a clean approach tonight because Gray is good against lefties and not so bad against righties. So that's where the advantage is. On the opposite side, just quickly, Montero's not a very good pitcher. You should be able to get quality at bats for St. Louis tonight. And by the way, for a pitcher that doesn't strike out a lot of batters, there's not a lot of strikeouts in the lineup for the Cardinals. They're very good at putting the ball in play against right-handed pitching, so the Cardinals should have success, lean on the better pitcher and the better advantages. That's why we're sitting at a -150 or higher.
Yeah. One of those righties for Detroit big yesterday, Spencer Torkelson, all 3 runs scored by the Tigers in their series finale win against Toronto off the bat of Torkelson, the young 25-year-old first baseman for the Tigers, off to a great start this year. St. Louis beat Kansas City in 2 of 3 this weekend. The Royals now head out west. Chris Bubich, a native of Cupertino, California, by the Bay, gets the start tonight for KC as they take on Robbie Ray and the San Francisco Giants. The Giants during rivalry weekend sweeping the A's in that Northern California rivalry as well, even as the A's now play in Sacramento and not Oakland. San Francisco, an ever so slight favorite at home tonight. Total stands at 7.5. What's the play for the opener out by the Bay?
You take a look at Chris Bubich, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he did fare so well in his last start. 54 1/3 innings pitched on the season. He has a 166 ERA, which is phenomenal, and a 3.41 xFIP number. But also, Robbie Ray started the season not so good with his analytical numbers. How about this now? Robbie Ray coming back in full force right now with a 3.04 ERA and a 4.06 xFIP number. Now, the xFIP is a little bit higher, but understand this. Look at his last 30 days, Ben. 124 batters that he faced here, an ISO against of an 0.73, a weighted on base percentage of a 244, a K rate of 27.4%, and to righties, it's actually expanded to close to 30%. You look at the Kansas City lineup tonight. Jonathan India, solid weighted on base percentage. Bobby Witt hits anybody. Yeah. Michael Garcia is solid. Salvador Perez, Mark Canha, Vinny Pasquantino, Hunter Renfroe, Freddie Fermin, Darian Blanco, all under hitters going up against a lefty pitcher tonight. So maybe there's an under for the game itself, but also maybe a slight nod here to San Francisco because their plate appearances might be better than, obviously, the Kansas City Royals. How about that?
Bubic has been pretty good, DRS, in his 3 outings in May, over 18 innings of work, only 1 earned given up, 1.66 the ERA, a 4-2 record for Chris Bubic, returns near his hometown tonight against the San Francisco Giants. Of course, the Giants sweeping the A's this weekend. San Francisco 28-19, 27-18, the record for the Padres, who were swept this weekend. The Dodgers swept this weekend by the Angels as well. San Fran only a game behind L.A. for that top spot in the highly competitive National League West. We'll talk about the Red Sox and the Mets squaring off this week early in Fenway. The Mets coming off a series defeat against the Yankees. Boston not playing great baseball at the moment. Can they turn things around? Find out next.
Still underdogs at home, on the road, and all of these games. It's time for people to start understanding it's a legitimate team that has a chance not only to win the series against Cleveland, but also maybe even go all the way to the NBA Finals.
I think a lot of the focus has been on why the Cavs have not played particularly well. A lot of that is due to injury, of course, but I think that's taking too much credit away from what the Pacers have done.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum underwent surgery to repair a torn right Achilles tendon. That is obviously a season-ending injury, and you know that's long rehab. You're talking
that's a year.
That's a year.
I don't wish that on anybody. I don't. I hate that Achilles, knees and ankles. I don't like talking about them. I've said it a million times. But screw the Celtics.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
To Fenway Park we go next. The Red Sox and the Mets open up a midweek series tonight in Boston. Boston in the series this rivalry weekend against the Atlanta Braves, two teams that used to play in Boston. The Braves taking 2 of 3 against the Sox. Boston has dropped 5 of its last 6, 2 games sub 500. The Mets did lose the weekend in the Subway Series against the Yankees, but still in pole position in the National League East. And with Kodai Senga on the bump for the Amazons tonight, New York, an ever so slight road favorite in Fenway, minus 132. The number on the money line as of this moment, on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Total of 9. Some beautiful weather on this Monday along the greater East Coast, DRS. Will we see some offense tonight in Fenway Park?
Yeah, not so beautiful at Fenway, though. 52 degrees at first pitch with the wind blowing in from left field at 14 miles per hour. Yeah, move Fenway down here, down south, so we can actually get some winds blowing out and warmer temperatures. You take a look at Kodai Senga, 14th on the card at a 23 pitcher steady with xFIP. But hear me out on this. Here's where you take a look at the analytics, how they don't match up with some things that actually just happened on the field. Kodai Senga, 44 in the third innings pitched on the season. How about an ERA, Ben? 1.02. Absolutely spectacular. With that xFIP number, a 4.21. So with some danger coming in. Hunter Dobbins on the mound, only 27 and 2/3 innings pitched here for the Boston Red Sox. How about a 3.90 ERA? So way higher than actually we're talking to look at Senga, but his xFIP number is lower at a 3.54. You take a look at Senga on the season, good numbers. He walks too many batters, and you like that strikeout numbers to be just a little bit higher. But if the focus is on the New York Mets at the plate against Hunter Dobbins, the one thing Dobbins has struggled with, 54 batters from the left-hand side on the season. How about a 333 ISO and a 460 weighted on base percentage? He's been stellar with ISO power numbers and weighted on base percentages against righties, though. So the focus, if you're just looking, maybe saying, I don't know who's going to win this game, but I want some hitting props. Francisco Lindor, obviously a switch hitter. He'll be batting for the left-hand side. That's a key. Juan Soto bats from the left-hand side. Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Brett Beatty. There's a lot of options in that Mets lineup tonight, which you can try to exploit from a guy technically is a better analytical pitcher than Kodai Senga, even though the ERA doesn't match up. Look lefties tonight for those New York Metropolitans.
We've got 12 games on the slate on this Monday in MLB, including a divisional duel in the Twin Cities between Minnesota and Cleveland. The Guardians swept over the weekend by my Cincinnati Reds. Good stuff. Cincy, 24 wins this year. We need 80. The Minnesota Twins had their 13-game win streak snapped in the finale yesterday against the Brewers in Milwaukee. Will a new streak start tonight in Minneapolis? The Twins, a favorite to make that the case. The Guardians trying to snap a 4-game skid of their own. So what happens tonight, DRS, in the Twin Cities? Will the Twins start a new win streak? Will the Guardians snap a 4-game slide?
I'm not loving the weather conditions in Minnesota either tonight, Ben. 55-degree temperatures, but a 15-mile-an-hour sustained wind blowing directly in from center field. We'll see how that plays into it tonight. And the shame of it is, Logan Allen, the left-handed starting pitching for the Cleveland Guardians, who have a road start, which you usually try to pick on those type of players. They're more comfortable at home typically than on the road. If we look at 23 total pitchers on the card today, you know who's dead last in xFIP? You got it. It's Logan Allen of the Cleveland Guardians. 41 in the third innings pitched. A decent ERA at 3.70, but that xFIP is at a 5.04. That's in the danger territory. Why? Specifically, doesn't strike out a lot of batters. And also, looking at the lineup today, expected back for the Twins, Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa. And by the way, if they weren't back, that lineup is totally shot tonight against left-handed pitching because those are the only two batters that seem like be able to hit left-handed pitching. Jeffress has a low ISO but a high weighted on base percentage. Cody Clemens, who's a left-handed batter, but only 5 at-bats against lefties in the past 30 days. You don't really want to add up. So for me, I'm looking at this game and saying, I don't really like the pitcher on the mound for Logan Allen, but he's really going to get helped out by the lineup of the Twins and also the weather conditions for the Twins. Ober on the opposite side, shaping up a little bit better the past 30 days as opposed to the full season. A better lineup for the Cleveland Guardians, but the weather conditions don't suit. That's a pitcher's ballpark with the wind blowing in and cooler temperatures. Maybe the pitchers have it better than the hitters tonight, Ben.
DRS, if I told you over the weekend at Chavez Ravine that there was a sweep, you would say, how much did the Dodgers hammer the Angels by? Quite the opposite. The Halos sweeping the Dodgers for the first time in 15 years since the 2010 MLB season. So how does LA respond? Remaining at home against a divisional foe now in the Arizona Diamondbacks that won the Rocky Mountain Showdown somehow, some way, categorizing it as such against the Colorado Rockies this weekend, taking 2 of 3 against the Rocks. The D-backs, a team just kind of staying in the mix, DRS, in the NL West. Not as prolific this year as LA, San Diego, or San Francisco, but still 25 and 22. We'll talk about the opener this week at the Ravine in downtown LA. Up next.
still underdogs at home, on the road, and all of these games. It's time for people to start understanding a legitimate team that has a chance not only to win the series against Cleveland, but also maybe even go all the way to the NBA Finals.
I think a lot of the focus has been on why the Cavs have not played particularly well. A lot of that is due to injury, of course, but I think that's taking too much credit away from what the Pacers have done.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum underwent surgery to repair a torn right Achilles tendon. That is obviously a season-ending injury, and you know that's long rehab. You're talking
that's a year.
That's a year.
I don't wish that on anybody. I don't. I hate that Achilles, knees and ankles. I don't like talking about them. I've said it a million times. But screw the Celtics.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
A 12-game slate around Major League Baseball on this Monday. We go now to downtown L.A. That would be Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers swept this weekend at the Ravine by their crosstown foes, the L.A. Angels. The Diamondbacks taking 2 of 3 against the Colorado Rockies. Tonight, L.A. expected to bounce back ever so slightly. Minus 142, that live money line price on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Total 9.5 tonight at Dodger Stadium. DRS, what's the play?
We should get some runs here, but by the way, take a look at these two pitchers on the card today. I just told you, 23 total pitchers, at least 10 innings pitched from the start of Major League Baseball season. Knack's got 18 1/3, which isn't a huge sample size. Brandon Pfaadt, however, has got 50 2/3 innings pitched. But take a look at this. Knack is listed ninth on the list at a 5.89 ERA, but his xFIP is 3.72. You take a look at Brandon Pfaadt, who's behind him with an ERA of 3.73, but an xFIP of 3.85. So a much, much higher ERA, but a little bit slightly lower xFIP number puts Knack in the lead here. Those are the analytics that are talking. But if we're looking at the lineups, both of these lineups should hit tonight. It's nice to talk about temperatures, not in the 50s or the wind blowing in. Typical LA temperatures at night, 72 degrees with a light wind blowing out to right center field. You take a look at the first 7 batters anticipated in the lineup tonight for the Arizona Diamondbacks going up against Knack, all positive, weighted on base percentages, and for the most part, low K rates going up against right-handed pitching. Some of the guys really excelling. Ketel Marte, 35 at-bats over the past month against righties, man. Look at this, a 433 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 453. Also, you look at Knack and his profile. He actually has done well over the past 30 days against lefties, but including the full season and last 30 days against right-handed batters, that's where the problems come in. However, as I just told you, most of the players in the lineup tonight, switch hitters or lefties for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That could be interesting. One of the guys that's not going to bat from the left-hand side, that's Eugenio Suarez, always high up on my list for a chance to go yard. But if we look at the Los Angeles batters from their perspective, a lot of good numbers to look at. And Brandon Pfaadt, who does struggle slightly with right-handed batters, that puts the focal points on a Mookie Betts, on a Tommy Edmonds, Andy Pages in that range. But also, a lot of lefties are due up in the lineup today for the Dodgers. Which pitcher is going to handle their left-handed batters the best are going to win that game. But it's no surprise the Dodgers are a favorite at home. It's what they're going to be with any pitcher on the mound. It doesn't matter.
Again, Arizona taking 2 of 3 against the Colorado Rockies. When you play Colorado, you must win at least the series, if not every game, against the Rocks, who are now 8 38 this year. So welcome in Philadelphia. Can the Phils keep the good times rolling after sweeping the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend? The Phils have won 9 of their last 12, 11 of their last 15, and are a minus 250 road favorite today in Denver inside Coors Field. Total at double digits. It stands at 10. DRS, will your Fightins make it 4 in a row?
I mean, they should. 60-degree temperatures in the Rockies, which isn't bad when we were just talking about, 50s in Boston, 50s in Minnesota. Wind is blowing slightly in at Coors Field at 6 miles per hour. It shouldn't really affect the overall game as it is. But how about some of these numbers we're going to talk about right now? What if I would tell you the highest ERA pitcher on the card is actually the third best pitcher on the card today? It's Kyle Freeland. Make that make sense? 45 and a third innings pitched, a 6 ERA, but an xFIP number of 3.45. You know the best pitcher on the card today overall due to analytics? It's Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies. 43 and a third innings pitched, a 291 ERA, and a stellar xFIP number of 3.11. So you have 2 of the 3 best analytical pitchers on the bump today, and you see that price point at 10, which means it takes 11 to beat you. Kyle Freeland, the one thing that he does well as a left-handed pitcher, get lefties out. Lefties in the lineup: Bryson Stott, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Max Kepler, Brandon Marsh. He should be able to hold those bats down here. At the same time, I never like the lineup for the Colorado Rockies. It doesn't project well either to lefties or righties, home or away, it feels like. So I don't know if we're getting all of those runs in Colorado just because we might get some Coors magic. The only thing that with a high favorite like the Phillies on the road is pitchers aren't used to being in Coors unless they're the starting pitchers for the home team, which would be the Colorado Rockies. So anytime you see these high numbers, yes, the Phillies should win this game going away. But I just told you, it's not as if Sanchez is the best pitcher on the card and Freeland is the worst pitcher on the card. Analytically, they're both top 3. I can't lay that big a price point with the Philadelphia Phillies, even though I do think technically they do have the better pitcher and the better lineup here. And I also don't know if I want to take over 10 runs when I just told you both of these pitchers should be pretty good tonight.
Even to bet the run line in favor of Philadelphia, it's minus 170 for you to take the run and a half or lay the 1.5, I should say, with the Phils. That is hefty juice. In fact, minus 170, laying a run and a half, only 80 cents different than that money line at minus 250. Again, pretty substantial there. 6.5 the team total for the Phils as well. The under has the juice at minus 142. That is some Coors Field baseball. 12 games on this Monday around MLB. The Cubbies in Miami to take on the Marlins. Chicago sweeping the White Sox in the crosstown rivalry this week. And the Cubs in first place in the National League Central in a really good offensive team this year. The Fish did take 2 of 3 against their in-state foes in the Rays. The Rays will host the Houston Astros to start this week. The Reds swept the Guardians. They now go on the road to Pittsburgh to take on a Pirates team that just was swept, despite Paul Skeens having a great outing yesterday in Philadelphia. DRS, elsewhere around the card, any other games that really stand out to you?
Maybe 740 tonight, rotation 969, 970. That's Baltimore and Milwaukee. It's Kramer versus Priester, 2 pitchers that should be able to get a hit around. Now, we've told you ad nauseum, something is wrong with that Baltimore lineup. Now, granted, they're playing in Milwaukee, which if the stadium was outdoors like it used to be at Milwaukee County Stadium, you say, oh, man, look at that, 40-degree temperatures indoors. You're not going to worry about weather conditions, which is great for this one. It's listed at 8.5 across the board. And if you're looking at pitchers today, like I just told you about the Philadelphia Phillies and the Colorado Rockies, Sanchez number 1 on the card, Freeland number 3 on the card with xFIP numbers. Let's go to the bottom of the list. How about Dean Kramer out here in these streets, 20th out of 23rd in xFIP today, and Quinn Priester, 22 out of 23 today. So if there is a lineup that isn't projecting all that well in the season on both sides here in this game, I'm still thinking we get 9 runs in this atmosphere. Sooner than later, bad pitchers give up bats to quality batters who aren't playing all that well this year. Hello, Baltimore Orioles. Maybe 9 runs today in Milwaukee does make a little bit of sense.
Good thing there are those retractable roofs in American Family Field. Again, 42 degrees today in Milwaukee. The O's struggling, 15 and 30. Yeah. The Brewers lost 2 of 3 this weekend against the Minnesota Twins. The Brew Crew right now overall 3 games sub 500 at 22 and 25. How about those Angels on the road tonight in Sacramento against the A's? The Halos swept the Dodgers. Can they keep it rolling? The A's swept this weekend by the San Francisco Giants. DRS, any other plays that everybody should know about today in MLB?
Look, don't you feel old, Ben? Remember Ted Ginn Jr. out on the field? Well, his son's on the mound today for the A's with Mr. Ginn. How about that? Well, technically not, but JT Ginn only 13 2/3 innings pitched in the season. Everything usually gets thrown into whack out there in Sacramento. Are we just fading the ballpark again? 9.5. We just go over 10. Even if you don't like the lineups all that much, it seems like that's the best way to go at the business. But as you pointed out earlier, it's nice to have a full Monday card, and I do like afternoon baseball action. But for handicapping purposes, it's way better when everything is condensed at night and going off at one time. You just set the bets in. You check the watch here. When it buzzes, you got money in your account. Those are the best things. You don't be waiting all day like, I only have 2 batters in the afternoon. I have 2 more batters at 6 o'clock, 2 more batters at 9 o'clock. Get them all clustered, man, and have that phone just lighten up with money, man. That's the good times.
John Thomas Ginn, JT Ginn, gets the start today for the Athletics on the mound against the Angels. A 1-1 record in 3 starts this year with a 4.61 ERA. Was placed on the IL at the end of April. This is his first start in nearly a month for the Athletics today at home in Sacramento. Maybe we see some runs as the Halos were delivering at the Dish this weekend in Los Angeles. Total 9.5 in Sacktown tonight. Prop Perspective with TV, Tom Vecchio on the other side of the break, and an early look at the conference finals, both between the Thunder and the Timberwolves, the Knicks and the Pacers, and then, of course, some thoughts on the playoffs as well.
Still underdogs at home, on the road, and all of these games. It's time for people to start understanding it's a legitimate team that has a chance not only to win the series against Cleveland, but also maybe even go all the way to the NBA Finals.
I think a lot of the focus has been on why the Cavs have not played particularly well. A lot of that is due to injury, of course, but I think that's taking too much credit away from what the Pacers have done.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum underwent surgery to repair a torn right Achilles tendon. That is obviously a season-ending injury, and you know that's long rehab. You're talking
that's a year.
That's a year.
I don't wish that on anybody. I don't. I hate that Achilles, knees and ankles. I don't like talking about them. I've said it a million times. But screw the Celtics.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Donnie right side sometimes. Right as the intro animation is playing, he knows we're coming back from break. He will say something that breaks me, as was just the case. Oh, man. Let's hope Sil doesn't show up at Vecchio's door as we welcome.
Listen, we could get back on track, or we could just let things keep going. And I know we have a lot to get to, but this is insane. This is insane that we have a graphic.
Wow, we got
a photo?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
The way I
didn't
eat
know
pizza,
this.
We're not here to talk about that. The way I eat pizza is double folding it.
Wow, by the way.
God.
The slices do look good, by the way.
The fact that Kevin sent this picture in, that I eat pizza 2 at a time, is we got to talk about the playoffs, not my pizza eating habits. I like to eat pizza 2 slices at a time.
Is that Friezo in the background? Is that Friezo in the background too? Getting a snap?
Hold on. Wait, first off, fantastic work to the guys behind the scenes to get this out there. Vecchio, second question. Before we get into your consumption of pizza slices, which is the main debate here, that will be question 3. Number 2, is that Gianni's in Colts Neck?
Honestly, I don't remember the name. Kevin found the place. He's like, I want to try this place. You know, we went there after BATR on Saturday before IGL.
What town? What town?
I think it started with an S. Sal something. I don't know. Don't know.
Okay.
No idea.
Now the main question of contention here, and then we will get back on track. Tom Vecchio, as was learned on Saturday and displayed there in those photos, takes 2 slices of pizza and puts them together, cheese side smashed in between. So crust up and bottom on both ways. Vecchio, you have a moment to explain yourself. Please, why is this your pizza consumption style?
Because it's better. You get more with one bite. Listen, I had 4 slices on Saturday. They were great slices, but I just like to have them. You fold them together. You got a little sandwich action. As I explained during the break, I love calzones. It's like a half step to a calzone. 1 slice of pizza, not enough at a time. Give me some calzone action with a pizza.
Now, where do you live? What is your home state? Tell the people out here. What's your home state?
I'm from New York initially.
No.
Listen,
we're not asking that. Where do you live right now?
I live in Connecticut, in Stanford, went to school at New Haven. I had some of the best pizza in New Haven. And you want more of it at one time.
Yeah, you're out. Yeah, I mean, we got to let this.
I know people in New Haven
that are making pizza right now, making solid pizza, and they see that like just a sign of ultimate disrespect to the pizza.
Disrespect the fact I want to eat more of it as much as I possibly can. That's the ultimate sign of respect, that I love it so much that I want to eat more.
But is it an affront to the natural way that pizza should be eaten? Is Tom Vecchio an innovator that is not in the right time?
Wow.
Is he before his time? Will we look back in history and say Tom Vecchio was doing things the right way? Or right now, I would say the wrong way. It's very strange, Tom. I will say it is very, very strange. But listen, we're still glad to have you here on this Monday. Time now for the prop perspective as we get ready for the conference finals round. I'm still not sure that Donnie is okay having you here.
I didn't know we had visual evidence.
Yeah.
Like, I thought we were just going to get like a he said, she said. That was fantastic. Caught in the act right there.
Honestly, Kevin's on my bad list right now. You know, I would call it something else, but I got to have some words with Kevin.
Wow. What's the other word for it, by the way? Let it go.
Because he documented an affront to God?
This is just subversion. This is subversion at the highest
level. I would say Kevin Walsh was doing great investigative journalism there. And I actually appreciate the work that Kevin Walsh has put
Kevin Walsh podcast, the entire episode about this. Let's get to some sports.
Wow.
100%. All right, let's talk about the conference finals. We start first in the NBA playoffs. Out west, Vecchio, it's the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC dispatching of Denver by 32 in game number 7 yesterday afternoon. OKC has been the odds-on favorite the entirety of the Western Conference postseason. They now enter the Western Conference finals as a heavy minus 375 favorite against Minnesota. Is there such a strong advantage in your mind, Vecchio, for the Thunder in this series matchup against the T-Wolves?
Honestly, I don't. And I think one of the best ways you could play this is you take the Timberwolves on the series money line and you hope they do what Denver did in game 1. They come out with the win. That series price would shift dramatically after a game 1 win for the Timberwolves, and then potentially look to buy back in on the Thunder somehow, whether you could still take, if you have the faith in them, you could still take a minus 1.5 on the series price. Look to them an exact series outcome, whatever it might be. I think the line is a bit too much. Like, these are 2 great teams. the line is suggesting that this is kind of like a first-round matchup where it's like, oh, this is like a 3-6 matchup. Like, oh, one team is clearly better than the other. That's not the case. Minnesota was here last year. The Thunder weren't. Now, we could say that the depth maybe lies with the Thunder, and there are some things that we would trust the Thunder to do better in terms of matchups, rotations, whatever it might be. You could bring in multiple bigs. I still like the fact that the Timberwolves have Naz Reid coming off the bench, providing some secondary scoring. So I do like the Timberwolves on the series price, but again, look to buy back in after game one potentially.
All right. By the way, we just got word. John's of Bleecker Street here banned Tom Vecchio from ever showing up on Bleecker Street in New York City here. Sally's Pizza. We're expecting to get something in from them shortly here. But if we are talking Knicks Pacers in their series coming up, the Knicks are a favorite, Tom. Minus 146. You take a look at the Pacers plus 124. An exciting round in the Eastern Conference Finals here.
Right. So we were talking about this on BATR on Saturday morning, and one of my favorite bets in theory would be the series total games over 5.5. It's sitting at minus 188, which is a bit of a crazy price. So I would say look to take it in 6 games. 6 games total. What is it? 2 plus 220 for exactly 6 games. I think that's where we should be. It pushing to 7 again. You could hedge out once we get to that 6 game, whatever it might be.
I think it's a really good point, Vecchio. Even looking at the Pacers in that series spread, getting a game and a half, that feels like the right bet. That feels like the right thought. It's just a matter, do you want to lay minus 188 for that to be the case? Of course, for Indiana to cover, getting a game and a half in the series spread, they either win the series or at least they force a 7th game. All right, Donnie, right side. I can only imagine what will be said about Tom Vecchio on Moneyline in just a few moments. There it is again for your viewing discretion.
Only way to redeem himself. What is Kevin's license plate number on his car? Say it now in the air. It's the only way to redeem yourself.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying him.
You're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not so. There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the Early Line on this Monday, rounding out the show. It's TV Tom Vecchio, who has been facing persecution the entirety of his time on TEL. We'll continue looking at game one for each the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA to get a top prop from the prop perspective of TV Tom in just a moment. And then we'll talk conference finals round in the Stanley Cup postseason before we go. Let's start with game number one tomorrow night, Vecchio, in Oklahoma City. No rest for the weary. The Thunder, after winning game 7 at home, only one full day off before they welcome in the Timberwolves. Rest versus rust on full display. 7.5-point spread in favor of OKC with a total at 215. What's your favorite prop play for game number one of the Western Conference Finals tomorrow?
So ultimately, I do like the Timberwolves on the spread. Again, they're coming off a full rest. We saw what the Thunder did in game one against the Nuggets, coming out a little bit slow. Outside of that, I like Rudy Gobert under 9.5 points. You know, he's had 2 explosive games to end the series, to end it versus the Lakers, to end it versus the Warriors. We know that. But ultimately, if we actually look at it, Rudy Gobert, despite being a starter, is 8th on the team when it comes to field goal attempts per game. 5.6. He's averaging 5.6. That means we have multiple players coming off the bench, NAW, Naz Reid, and Dante DiVincenzo. 3 players coming off the bench that are taking more field goal attempts compared to a starter. So when we look at Rudy Gobert, sure, he's a player who can get you 7, 8, 9. He's obviously there for his defense. I think that'll be paramount in this series versus Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. He's not their scoring option. So give me under 9.5 points for Rudy Gobert to start the series.
All right, game number one of the Eastern Conference Finals inside Madison Square Garden for the first time in 2.5 decades. That comes our way on Wednesday. Spread currently 4 in favor of the Knicks. Rather high total for the opening game of a conference finals matchup. 223. What's the approach, Vecchio, to the start of the Eastern Conference Finals between these two bitter, long-time playoff rivals in the Pacers and the Knicks?
I do like the over to start, and I think the Pacers will take a little bit of what they saw from the Celtics series versus the Knicks, where it's like, hey, we can get out and score, and then if we can withstand the pressure or like the wave, the pushback from the Knicks and get a 15-point lead as we saw the Knicks give up, the Pacers may actually have a shot in not only to win the game, but to win the series. So I do like some points early in the series that'll obviously change as the series goes on. But let's turn to Aaron Naismith over 5.5 rebounds. Surprisingly, he actually leads the team in rebounds per game. It's not by a big margin, but he is higher than Siakam and Turner. Now, the range of outcomes for Naismith is pretty wide. We're seeing some games at 2, 3, 4, other games at 11, 12, 13. So there's a wide range. But the fact that we're getting plus money with Naismith at over 5.5, I do like, especially if I'm expecting some pace back and forth. We're going to see some good shots. We're also going to see a lot of attempts back and forth overall, and that should lead to plenty of rebounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let's get to the Stanley Cup postseason. If you have some Maple Leafs fans in your life, pour some out for them today after getting hammered 6-1 last night in Game 7 in Toronto by the reigning Stanley Cup champs, the Florida Panthers. The Panthers, though, Vecchio, back in the Eastern Conference Finals for a 3rd consecutive year, still on their run in their Cup defense. They will take on the Carolina Hurricanes. These two teams squared off in the Eastern Conference Finals just 2 seasons ago. A very short spread, slightly or at least outright price in favor of our reigning champs in Florida. How tightly contested is this series between the Panthers and the Canes about to be?
I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series. Really, it should be going 7. It's going to be an absolute war out there. I think we'll see some scoring early. Again, maybe one of these games end 4-3, 5-2, whatever it might be, and then it's going to be really, really clear unders. We're going to see games end 2-0, 1-0, whatever it might be. As we get to game 1, Bobrovsky, the goalie for the Panthers, over 25.5 saves. In the first round matchup with the Canes, they outshot the Devils 183-144. That's 36 saves per game for the Devils. In the second series, they outshot the Caps 149-96. That's at 29 saves per game. So we are seeing a decrease just because that's how series go in the playoffs. But a lot of saves for Bobrovsky to start.
The Canes have been dominant in puck possession so far here in the postseason. No rest for the weary for Florida either, and they've got to go from Toronto back to Raleigh. Game number 1 tomorrow night. Carolina, a slight home ice favorite. Western Conference Finals, Oilers, Stars, should be great. Vecchio, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to offense, and hopefully we'll start to see depth scoring from some of the Stars. I do have Stars future at 7.5 to 1, so I'll be backing them. I'm not hedging out yet. We'll see where that series goes, though. But let's go Stars.
Dallas 30 cents behind the Oilers, plus 240 for Edmonton. Co-favorites to win the Cup right now with the Florida Panthers. Of course, that would be a rematch of last year and that sensational 7-game set. Tom Vecchio, we appreciate it. Thanks for being a good sport. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern.